We finally got some positive news this weekend surrounding the Eagles offense and exactly what Kellen Moore's plan for Jalen Hurts has been this entire time, plus why one insider thinks Saquon Barkley is about to have a Christian McCaffrey-type resurgence this year, and the Eagles' forgotten pass catcher might not be forgotten for much longer. I'm Thomas Spott. This is the Thomas Spott Show. It's very rare this time of the year for the media in Philadelphia to have anything really good to say about the Eagles. Like, for instance, last week, all we heard was how Jalen Hurts hates Nick Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts lied about the Eagles' offense being 95% different. But it's Monday. How about some actual good news about your Philadelphia Eagle offense from an actual legit reporter with some real sources? And when I say real reporting, I mean someone that's not just reporting to get clicks for his local sports news station or local newspaper, reporting that over 53,700 of you guys are going to absolutely love. Well, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler did a deep dive on the Eagles during his weekend SportsCenter hit and revealed some really fascinating nuggets. Side note, I think Fowler is honestly one of the best non-biased NFL reporters maybe in the entire game. First, though, Fowler did speak about the Eagles' addition of Saquon Barkley this offseason, saying, quote, "Feeling around the league, talking to several teams, is that Saquon Barkley will make a major impact, maybe even like Christian McCaffrey to 49ers type impact because he's never had this sort of supporting cast." Now, I've spoken about the Eagles' Christian McCaffrey plan for Saquon for a very long time now, but to hear other teams are actually worried about this sort of impact from the Bears' new running back should excite even the most skeptical Barkley fans in Philly, which I didn't realize there were that many until my hit last week on Jacob Media. You think 1,300 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns is too little, too high? Like, in terms of your expectations for his numbers, where do you?
No, I expect Miles Sanders type. So okay. 1269. I think Miles was at 1269. So okay. 1,300. He's a better player than Miles Sanders. Sure. He's a better player than DeAndre Swift. But I think you're going to see similar numbers, especially in the passing game.
Now, you probably heard some people argue against Saquon saying, well, he's really only had one good season, and sure, I guess his rookie season in 2018 was really good, 1,300 yards, 15 total touchdowns, but I'm not sure why everyone just ignores his 2019 season when he had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 13 games, or his 2022 season where he had his most rushing yards of his entire career and 10 total touchdowns. Or even really last year, a quote-unquote down year where he was 38 rushing yards from 1,000 and had 10 total touchdowns yet again on a terrible Giants offense. And yet some people want to compare Saquon to just another Miles Sanders or just another DeAndre Swift, and yet the fact that Miles Sanders only has one season in his career over 1,000 yards with 13 touchdowns with Philly in 2022, whereas his other 4 seasons, he never got past 900 yards rushing and never had more than 6 total touchdowns. You can criticize Saquon Barkley all you want. Injuries have been somewhat of an issue. He didn't really produce much, at least in the postseason, very little bit of postseason experience, but still the Giants did go with Saquon Barkley 2 years ago, and yet Saquon Barkley in this offense is something we truly have never seen before. The only other time this has happened, it really has been Christian McCaffrey. I mean, take an elite back in a terrible offense and put him into an elite offense with an elite O-line and watch him work. Saquon Barkley has a chance to be the best running back in the National Football League this year, and if not the best, a top 5 running back in the National Football League, something Philadelphia has not had for a very, very long time. Now, speaking of Saquon Barkley, he will be at Devontae Smith's celebrity softball game this weekend. If you're going, let me know down below in the comments section. Just say, Thomas, I'm going. I've been given 2 of the official Devontae Smith celebrity softball game t-shirts to be given away to one of my subscribers, or I guess 2 of my subscribers. Comment down below. Going to give those later on this week. Now, Jeremy Fowler did not just say Saquon is going to be great in Philly. We actually got some positive reporting, wait for it, on Nick Sirianni for the first time maybe from my recollection since, week 12 versus Buffalo of last year. Fowler said that, quote, Nick Sirianni has really trusted the process, trusted his new play caller, Kellen Moore, to handle a lot of things. Even though he's an offensive-minded head coach, he's not micromanaging anything, so they're getting to work on it. I'm truly starting to believe that all the offseason reports about Philadelphia looking at other coaches before bringing back Nick Sirianni like Bill Belichick were actual legit reports. My guess is Howie and Jeffrey probably sat Nick Sirianni down, told him that he's going to be a head coach, not the offensive coordinator, not the person calling the shots on offense, and he has to accept that or the Birds were going to go in a different direction. And of course, Nick Sirianni obviously took that deal. He hired Kellen Moore, and now, according to Jeremy Fowler, he's been great at relinquishing the offense and trusting in his new play caller. Oh, and that's not all. Fowler finished by saying that, quote, I'm told the Eagles have spent a lot of time this offseason taking the old offense, Nick Sirianni's system last year that Jalen Hurts is used to, mixing it with Kellen Moore's principles, putting it all in a pot with some gumbo and seeing what works. I'm told Hurts has done a good job this offseason of being vocal and taking ownership of the plays he likes and the plays he doesn't. This is exactly what every single Eagles fan has been clamoring for them to do. Like, take the offense that Jalen Hurts has ran the past 3 years, don't trash the entire thing, figure out what Hurts likes, what he does best, and what doesn't work, throw out the bad, then take what Kellen Moore does best and add in all of those parts to what Nick Sirianni did best and come up with a, for lack of a better term, gumbo that works for everybody involved. Oh, and of course, make sure Jalen is actually included in this entire process so he feels comfortable, he feels heard, and he's a part of the rebuild and a part of what makes the offense really, really great. And really, boom, you have the Birds' offensive issues fixed in one entire offseason. Now, sure, it sounds great coming out of my mouth, but don't just take my word for it. How about Greg Cosell, the great film guru, breaking down exactly why this process is going to work to Ross Tucker on his podcast?
Very interesting, and it makes me think, and we don't know any of this now, in March, but it leads me to believe is there going to be a little bit of a change in their offensive approach with the new coordinator and Kellen Moore. In other words, is the offense not necessarily going to run through Jalen Hurts? When you do a deep dive on Jalen Hurts' tape from a year ago, which I've done, then you see that there were some concerns that did crop up. And again, it's not to say he's not a good NFL quarterback, but it's a coach's job to study everything in great detail and really see what a player is and what he isn't, what he does well, what he doesn't do well. And I think when you do that with Hurts, there are some things that showed up that maybe with the new coordinator, because when a new coach comes in, they look at every single play. That's what they do, and they look at them more than once. And they may have decided that, we need the run game. And by the way, Hurts is a factor in the run game. That's a critical point here to be made. Hurts is a factor in the run game. They may feel that the run game needs to be a bigger piece of their offense and that they want a back that theoretically and maybe even practically during the season can carry the ball 18, 20 times every week and can be much more a foundational piece of what they're going to do on offense.
We've all said it before, like the Eagles have a superstar offense, at least talent-wise, and I mean, heck, that talent had them 10-1 last season, despite the terrible play calling and horrific offensive scheme. Pair this offense with a scheme custom-built for all of their strengths, and the rest of the league might be shocked to find out what the finished product looks like in 2024. Do you guys see the Eagles' offense as being better than it was in 2022 under peak Shane Steichen? I think they could be this year. The addition of Saquon definitely makes it a little more interesting. Let me know what you think down below right now. I think the one offensive weapon that we've hardly talked about the entire offseason has got to be Dallas Goedert. He's the forgotten offensive talent that really needs to be getting involved a lot more. It kind of seemed like last year after Brian Johnson didn't really use him much in the offense, and of course the injury versus Dallas, he just never really got things going. This offense, though, I think Goedert seems to be a main focus, and back to tight end one, as he told the Philadelphia Inquirer this weekend that Kellen Moore has really been cooking with this new offensive scheme. Quote, he's been doing a great job of just making the offense make sense. We kind of changed up the reads and different things like that throughout. I feel like it'll play in favor of the tight end, the quick game a little bit, getting back to the pivots, the sticks that I caught earlier in my career and went away from a little bit. I'm really excited to see how he uses the tight ends and how he feels like they can be a bigger part of the offense and help win games. Goedert clearly understands that he's not the first option, not the second option, maybe not the third option, but he also realizes that Kellen Moore's offense is all about matchups, and while everyone's going to focus in on A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Saquon Barkley, that's going to leave the Birds' best pass-catching tight end, maybe one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league, one-on-one with a lot of linebackers and nickel cornerbacks and poor coverage safeties, I think giving him a chance to maybe have his best year of his entire career this coming season. Now, it is the offseason, but you notice we've been working a ton the past couple of weeks. 2 Eagle interviews on my channel. Josh had Isaiah Rodgers on twice last week, and we're going to go ahead and join for an interview with a really superstar Eagle player, hopefully later on this week. Be sure to subscribe for that. Curious if you know who it is? We're locking that interview down hopefully on Tuesday. That's all I can say right now, but it is coming, and a lot more interviews are going to happen in the future. We're trying to be the best 2 channels for your Philadelphia Eagles viewing experience, not just this offseason, but every single season going forward. Hit that sub button and stay tuned. Plenty more stuff happening. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.